Welcome to Love Talk. I'm Gregory Morgan. Thank you for joining me. What we focus on tends to expand. Expand in what way? Expand in your awareness. Expand in terms of the amount of attention that it demands from you. It expands in terms of the amount of time you spend. So imagine if you were in a cave, like a dark cave, but you had one of those headlamps on. That headlamp pretty much determined what you could see when you turned your focus to one side or the other. So basically you're seeing pretty much what's straight ahead of you. And even if you turn around to look at your past or where you've been, then it's looking at that. Your attention is precious. Your awareness is precious. Again, using this metaphor of being in a dark cave, the lights aren't on, so you can't just look around and see everything that's there at the same time. Whatever it is that goes through your filters, through your mind, given that that's what you're focusing on and that's your awareness, that pile of rubble becomes your whole world, at least for that moment. It colors the actions that you might take. It colors your mood, your feeling, either anticipation, excitement. If you're focusing on that part of the cave that is bringing you down, is causing you to feel limited and unresourceful with a lack of hope or vitality or joy or well-being, I suggest that now imagine that you're still in that same cave, but where you haven't looked yet is riches and resources and food and shelter and other people who are happy to see you and related to you, and every possible resource that you could possibly want to have a joyous, magnificent experience of life, but you just haven't looked over there yet. Either you have and maybe you had a bad experience, or maybe you have and you felt inadequate for whatever reason. If you're not focusing on that, then you will not experience it. Period. What you focus on literally gives you your experience of life, and your experience of life determines how you feel about it. It also determines your health, your vitality, the actions that you take or don't take, the people that you will see and associate with are the ones that you will ignore. What you're focusing on in your life is keeping you limited. Where is it in your life? Maybe you look out into your life and you go, I don't see any possibilities. I don't have any choices. I've got the life I've got, and there's no way that it's ever going to change or be any better. Maybe it'll get a little bit better, but as far as being fully self-expressed, joyous, enjoying the company of friends and relatives in such a way that it expands and enlightens your life, having an expanded sense of purpose and financial security that comes from providing a service for people for which they're glad to compensate you abundantly, because you're giving an abundant service to people. So if you look out on your life and you're not seeing those possibilities for yourself, you're not seeing how that could ever open up for you, I promise you that you are only focusing in one part of the cave. All of life is available to you at all times. All of the abundance and prosperity and self-actualization and fulfillment, purposeful living has already been given to you. It's already there. It's already present in your life. It's as if you were in a large chamber with many closed doors and a few open doors, and you've looked into certain doors and you found whatever you found in your life, and it's either giving you joy or not, and you think that's the whole thing. For many people, it's like, I don't know, they got out of high school and they got married and that's their whole life and that's it. Or maybe they were married for a number of years and they raised kids and then they got divorced. That's it. You see, or maybe you've had some kind of an illness or something in which you feel like, you're not 100% anymore, and so you think, I'm a survivor of cancer, or I'm a survivor of a heart attack. Or many people live their life saying, I'm an incest survivor, or I'm a rape survivor. So people tend to identify themselves by the most intense and impactful situations, circumstances, or happenings that have occurred in their life, and then somehow they survived, somehow they're still here to tell the story about it, and that's the only story they have to tell. That is the most important story in their life, and so they're going to tell it for the rest of their life. And in fact, there are people who have even made entire careers out of being, for example, a cancer survivor. I know people who survived cancer, and they give inspirational talks, they sell books, they travel around the world and do keynote speaking. Hey, listen, please don't get that I'm putting that down or making that wrong in any way. I think that's awesome. There are people that need to hear this messages, and so thank God that they're able to give this message and make an abundant living doing so, doing very well for themselves, helping other people who maybe have lost hope or are in despair about that particular thing. However, if they were to ever identify themselves as anything else other than in this case, I'm thinking of a person that is a cancer survivor who has gone on to be a popular speaker on that subject. What would they do? They'd have to find another job. If they said, okay, cancer, I survived cancer, so what? That was one of the things that happened in my life, but now let's turn my attention towards greater things, and stop identifying myself with the biggest trauma that ever happened to me. If I did that, you would hear me talking about all of the traumas all the time, you see, and so while I sometimes will bring up difficult things that I've overcome in my past as a tool, as a method of perhaps aiding somebody else who may be in a similar circumstance so that they can take my experience and map it onto their own experience so as to gain hope, insight, strength, purpose. In other words, you could take the things that have happened to myself or to anybody else where they have overcome something, and what is implied, it is not implicit, but it is implied. By implicit, it doesn't mean that you will overcome these things, but it is implied that if I could do it, you could do it. Right? If he could do it, then I could do it. People tend to migrate towards those things that they feel akin to. So if I'm able to share my experiences with you, any of my negative experiences that I've overcome in my life, and I'm sure, I've had a lot, and so have you, sharing those negative experiences for the sake of gaining sympathy, sharing those negative experiences for the sake of bonding with somebody else who's also had a negative experience. A lot of people like to bond over trauma. I call it trauma bonding. Oh, I wrecked my car, and I got a pain in my neck. Oh, me too. I wrecked my car and my pain was in my back. It cost this amount of money. So people will have entire relationships kind of start off and continue based on their shared trauma. And there's kind of a funny phenomena where each person tries to have their trauma be more traumatic or more costly or more devastating than the other person's trauma. Oh, you think you had a trauma? I had a bigger trauma, right? So it's almost a contest for the victim position. You think you're a victim. I was a bigger victim than you. I'm even more of a victim, you see. And so thereby gaining some kind of status in the world of victims, thereby gaining some kind of they wear their victimhood like a medal of honor. I survived some horrible thing, you see. So that becomes the story of your life, their life. I'm saying there as a way of disassociating it from you or me, but we've all done it, haven't we? We've all shared our traumas, cast ourselves in the movie of life as the role of the victim. Nobody wants to be the bad person. You don't want to be the villain, right? Nobody wants to be the villain in the movie. A lot of people want to be the hero. If you don't have the guts or the responsibility or the ability to succeed in the face of overwhelming odds, if you don't have a sense of self-sacrifice and being able to give of your best for others, even though there's no reward, being a hero is kind of hard work. It's so much easier to be the victim. So most people will go for the victim position because, hey, it's got a great payoff. Now look in your own relationships where most of the fights that you have, most of the arguments that you have, whether it's in your personal relationships or your business, with your kids, with your parents, take a look. In all of those situations, there is a perpetrator, meaning a bad person, one that's doing the wrong. So we call that the wronger, the wrong person. And then there's the victim. Now, the wronger is considered to be to blame. We misuse the word responsible because the word responsible simply means able to respond, and it's a privilege to be able to respond. It's certainly not a burden, and it has nothing to do with guilt or blame or shame. Responsibility is like you should want to be responsible. There should be a race for the responsible position. I'm responsible. You should be glad to claim that, but nobody wants to claim that. They want to use the word responsible and use it as a synonym, in other words, to mean the same thing as blame, shame, guilt. So it's a misuse of a word in the first place. But so the wronger is seen to be the one who is responsible for this problem, to blame for this problem, and the victim is seen to be as the innocent bystander, the good person who was just going along, being good, doing their good thing, doing nothing wrong, because the wronger does the wrong thing. They're only doing good things. See, victims are just good, and this wronger came and did a bad thing to them, to the victim, and kept them from fulfilling themselves. Now the victim has a perfect story. They have a story. They have a reason. They have a justification. They have a way of avoiding being dominated by life, being dominated by the possibility of being responsible for their life. They don't have to be responsible because the wronger took that away from them, you see. They don't even have to do anything about their life. They can avoid responsibility. They can avoid accountability because, after all, they're a victim and they've been done wrong. They've got the perfect excuse to live a meaningless, pointless life and actually to bring others down and to make others wrong and to dominate others. It's great to be a victim because then you can dominate other people with your victimhood. You can tell everybody how you used to could be like that, but you used to be a possibility. You used to be positive. You used to be vital. You used to be fully self-expressed, but then this wrong thing happened to you and now you're a victim. So, game over. So, why am I saying all that? Because in your relationships, most of the arguments, most of the fights that you have, most of the times that you've gone out of communication with people, withdrawn, taken your love away, took all your toys and go home, or found some way to actually reach out and attempt to cause damage or undermine another person, to disempower another person, to hurt them mentally, emotionally, or maybe even physically, financially. Every time you've ever done any of that, you've been racing for the victim position. You did me wrong, so this is what I'm going to do to you, you see? And so most of you are racing for the victim position because nobody wants to be the wronger. Yes, the wronger, right? Nobody wants to be the wronger. They want to be the one who was wronged. That's the victim. Everybody wants to be the wronged person, the one who has been victimized by the wronger. Now, there's a third person that's in most of your relationships, and this is why people go and have affairs. There's the reliever, right? That's the hero. So there's the victim, the villain, and the hero, or the wronged, the wronger, and the reliever. Who's the reliever? That's the one that is outside the marriage, outside the relationship. That's the one that you go to and say, my wife or my husband doesn't understand me. They just don't get me. But you do. You understand me. When I'm with you, I feel better. When I'm with you, I feel hopeful, I feel loved, I feel turned on, whatever it is that the wronger has done to you. There will be a reliever that you will go looking for. Now, for some people, cheating is not their deal. They're not unfaithful in their marriage. So instead, they will turn to drugs, alcohol, becoming a workaholic, working too hard, or it could even be something healthy like, this happened in one of my relationships where, every time I'd get home, there was always this uncomfortable sort of argument going on. It's not in my current relationship, by the way, it's in a previous relationship years ago. And so to avoid all of that, I would go to the gym after work and I'd stay there sometimes till 10 o'clock at night when they closed. I'd just rather work out at the gym. But I told myself I'm doing something healthy and something great for myself. It didn't even occur to me until later, looking back, and I saw how hurtful that was for my ex-wife, that I would stay out late because she wondered where I was, and she probably even doubted that I was at the gym, although I actually was. I was just at the gym working out until I was exhausted, and then I'd come home, she would be there, and I would say, I'm really tired, I'm going to bed. And so I would just kind of avoid everything. So some of you may be doing something like that. You may be doing a really good thing for yourself, but in fact, you're replacing being responsible and communicative in your relationship, and ultimately, there's a race for the victim position. I think I've said everything that there is to say about that. I'd like you to take a look in your own lives. What are some of the things that might not be working in your relationship, where perhaps by shifting your perception, changing your focus, looking elsewhere other than where the problem is. I mean, it's obviously fascinating to stay fixed on the problem, but very often by expanding your vision, you begin to see that the problem is really a small symptom of something else. For the most part, that something else is driven by not a negative thing, but a desire to have life be whole and complete, a desire to be loved and to love, a desire to be honorable, a desire to have integrity, a desire to be fulfilled and fully self-express. I believe that is the strongest drive that we have as human beings, is to have our secret innermost essence, our secret, innermost, heartfelt love and truth be expressed out in the world. I believe we're driven by that. And when we get stuck in our perceptions, and again, referring back to that metaphor of being in a cave with a headlamp looking at a pile of junk, right? Sometimes we get stuck in how we're seeing life. Our experience does not fit our inner pictures of how it was going to be. You and I store and sort reality by inner pictures or images and thoughts and words. That's why I am a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro meaning your nervous system, your neurology, brain and nerves, and how it responds on an automatic level. Linguistic meaning your access to that is word. And programming has to do with you are responding to a type of programming even now. That you understand the words coming out of my mouth. Language is a program. It's software, okay? It's a type of program. That you know how to turn on a television or drive a car or brush your teeth. Those are all programs that you have been indoctrinated to and hypnotized into, so to speak, and you can do them automatically. Now, I say hypnotized, but you think I mean something negative. I don't. Hypnotism is simply that you're able to automatically, without thinking, do certain things that, are beneficial for you. Now, some people are hypnotized, you and I both, may be hypnotized into doing bad habits, things that we wish we didn't do. You might have a bad temper, or you might have a tendency to get depressed, or you might have an unrealistic expectations about relationships, and so you're always disappointed. Some people think they're taller than they are, or shorter than they are, or uglier or prettier or fatter or skinnier than they really are. They don't have an authentic relationship with themselves. Many people think they're smarter than they are, or there's an equal number of people that think they're dumber than they are. And there's more of them. The teaching at Embrace Growth, whether it's on our seminars, workshops, books, CDs, DVDs, television shows, radio shows, whatever it is we do, we have multiple ways of getting in your head. My evil plan is working, right? Don't take that out of context. I'm just making a joke. Is to get inside your head in such a way that it opens up your thinking. It opens up the possibilities for you, that it reminds you, remind. Many of you have lost your mind, and, sometimes I need to remind you so that you begin to see that, in fact, you are an extremely powerful, intelligent, loving, joyous human being, and that maybe you forgot that. Maybe you forgot how to do that. Maybe you've been focusing too long on those things that have kept you in a disempowered state. Most people are walking around in a very disempowered state of mind. Now, a state is very different than a mood or an attitude. You can have a mood, you can be in a certain kind of mood or have a certain kind of attitude, or you could have a certain sort of self-image. A state is something that is self-induced, okay? That's important. It may appear to come from the outside, but it is self-induced and it is instantaneous. A state is something that is both mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. It is a physiological state. When you are, for example, joyous, like totally filled with joy. Every cell in your body is being joyous at that moment, okay? There's a sense of well-being. You're mentally high, you're spiritually high, you're emotionally high, you're physically turned on, right? That is a state, and it's instantaneous, and it can go away instantaneously, and it can come back instantaneously, right? Now, so is depression, so is anger, so is any of the states that we feel that we are possessed by. Some people get in a constant state of being bummed out, depressed. And then they can even go and get a prescription and say, I'm clinically depressed. See, the doctor said so. It says right here, I am clinically depressed, therefore I should take these drugs and I'll feel better, okay? Now, all the drugs are doing is numbing your brain out, enhancing certain chemicals and suppressing others that are produced by the hypothalamus. You have the ability to do this already by yourself without drugs. However, pharmaceutical companies would have you believe that, no, you don't have the power to come out of this. You need this product that we make at billions of dollars a year to pull you up out of that. No, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual states are self-induced. They are a type of self-hypnotism. You and I have a tendency to be hypnotized by whatever is going on around us. Now, if you look out in the world, do you see a bunch of happy, joyous people partying down and having a great time and being in love with each other and communicating their innermost truth and sharing their dreams and encouraging each other to be successful? No, you do not. And so what you've learned, everybody's learned, is that the way to survive around here, the way to be well around here, is to be like the others. That means induced into, I say induced, okay? Induction. It is you are magnetized or induced into a state of normalcy so that you fit in with the vibratory field that's going on around you. It takes something to break out of that. It doesn't take a lot, but it takes a sense of responsibility and a sense of I'm responsible for my life, which means I'm responsible for my state of mind. I'm responsible for my state of my health, for the state of my finances, for the state of my relationships. And I'm responsible for what comes out of my mouth and what I say. And I'm also responsible for what I let in. I'm responsible for what I eat. I'm responsible for how I breathe. In other words, whether I smoke or whether I live in a smoggy place or whether I try to, enhance my life by breathing fresh air somehow. Good luck with that. And I'm also responsible for how I affect other people, how I'm seen by other people. Now, you're not responsible for how they feel about you, for what they think about you, what they say about you. However, you do have a responsibility to communicate in such a way that it impacts people in the best possible sense. That takes a certain sense of responsibility. That's all I'm trying to say. So you have a possibility of being responsible for your life. And so when it comes to something like dating and marriage, which I think a lot of people are concerned about that. Whether you're married or not, you might not be concerned with dating, but you might be concerned with marriage. And if you are dating, you might or might not be concerned with marriage. I'm going to assume for this brief moment that you might be interested in dating and marriage. The difference between just dating and hoping that marriage might happen later, or maybe it will, or maybe it won't, I don't know, to literally dating for the purpose of intentionally causing marriage. Dating for marriage. That takes a certain type of intentionality, doesn't it? You see, I can go car shopping all day long. I like it. I like cars, and so I could just go car shopping, right? But I don't really intend to buy a car. I have a car, and I like it. So I wouldn't be car shopping to buy a car. I'd just be car shopping to enjoy the shopping for the car. A lot of people date like that. They don't really intend to get married. They're not looking for somebody to have a relationship with. They just like dating. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that eventually you'll get tired of it. I think everybody eventually finds that kind of empty and pointless, and maybe they get tired of waking up in a bed with somebody they don't really know that much and they don't know if they're going to stick around, or waking up with somebody who they wish would be committed to them but they're not. Dating for marriage is like the difference between car shopping. There's a particular car I want. I know the color I want. I know what size engine it should have. I know the maker or the brand of the car. I know about what price range it should be in. I know what features it has, and now I'm going to go find that car and get it. I'm going to go get that car. Right? That's different. So dating for marriage is very much like that. It's like defining what it is that you're up to, deciding that that's what you're going to do, and then not wasting your time. You see, if I'm going to go get that car, I'm not going to stop off at a hardware store. I'm not going to the grocery store. I'm not going to go to the movies. I'm not going to go shopping for a bicycle. I'm going to go shopping for a car, a particular car that I want to drive. So obviously, relationships aren't cars. So the metaphor sort of falls flat at some point, but as do all metaphors. Any metaphor, if you take it all the way to the end, it doesn't work anymore. Metaphors are only good so long as they project an image that you can relate to. So dating for marriage is like specifically having a date for the purpose of seeing if this is somebody who you would like to marry, and whether they want to marry you or not, that's different. That's what they're up to, right? Flirting's just saying, I like you, I see that you're interested in me, I'm available, let's talk. Doesn't mean, hey, you turn me on, let's have sex. That's what dating has started meaning to a lot of people these days, but that's not what it's for. If you're dating for marriage, if you're dating for fun and recreation, do that other kind all you want. Romantic relationships that give you access to growth and development, spiritual awareness and awakening and development into your full potential of who you are as a human being, that leaves a legacy for future generations, that makes a difference for the people in your life and in your world. If you're interested in that, then that's what we're talking about when we talk about the 12 stages of romantic relationship. We're talking about a lifelong relationship. Is that work? Yep. Is it hard to do? Sometimes. Is it worth it? You bet. Do you know how to do it? No. Probably not. Most people do not know how to do that. Some people luck out. They just, their heart is pure or whatever. They find a way to work it out. And by most people, it's by far more than 50% of all marriages end in divorce. I know that 51% is some official record that was announced maybe 20 years ago, but it's more like 65%. And when you count what we call in-house marriages, that's where people are no longer really husband and wife. They don't really live as husband and wife anymore. They're like roommates. They're not supporting each other and becoming the best person they possibly have. They don't have sex. They don't have any real marital connection other than they both take care of the kids and pay the bills or whatever. I call that an in-house divorce. You're living in the same house, but you're not husband and wife anymore. So when you start counting those, the divorce rate is even higher. It's more like 75%, okay? Most people, by far, are not capable of. It's not that they're not capable of. You have the capability. You perhaps don't have the tools and insights. Perhaps you've been given the wrong tools. Maybe you were good at getting a date, or maybe you were good at getting laid, or maybe you were good at attracting men or women. But that has no bearing on whether or not you're qualified to be a husband or a wife or a mother or a father. That's a totally different realm. That takes a much deeper understanding of yourself and other people. It takes a much deeper commitment to the well-being of others and to the well-being of future generations. It takes being able to commit your life to something that's greater than your own personal concerns. Most people aren't interested in anything outside of their own personal concerns. Why should they be? That's the question. Most people say, why should I be concerned with future generations? I'm not going to be here. Should I be concerned with the environment? I'm going to die before the world ends anyhow. Why should I be concerned about the financial situations that's going to be on the shoulders of the future generations for years and years and years to come? Why should I be concerned about the ozone? Why should I be concerned about wildlife or melting ice caps? And that's, a valid question. If that's all your life is about, is your own personal concerns, then before your life is over, you will realize that your life was not worth living. A life that's all about you is not a life worth living. Life costs too much to be about you. Life is too filled with challenges and opportunities, and you miss enough of them, or you mess enough of them up, making life be about you and your comfort and your personal concerns and what you want, and you will miss the entire purpose of life. And at some point, you'll come to know that. And I'm so aware of so many people who are only in their 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s. If you're in your 30s, you got another, given the the trajectory of human development, you're probably going to live another 50, 60 years anyhow, right? If you're in your 20s right now, if you're not smoking, taking drugs, drinking excessive alcohol, or doing something really, really stupid, it's predictable that you'll live well into your 90s, if not 100 years old. Newer generations are living longer, and older generations, of which I'm part, are also living longer. I plan on being around another 30 or 40 years. I'm feeling as healthy as I ever have, and I'm feeling very hopeful about that. And so I think that if you live a life that makes a difference for other people, and you take care of yourself just minimally, don't be super destructive with yourself, more than likely you'll live a long time. I hope that for you. And I hope and I pray and I am committed that the work that we do at Embrace Growth and that the purpose of these television shows, radio shows, and all that stuff will serve to expand or lighten up your purpose in life, expand your vision of what your life's about. You'll begin to get the message. I say it almost every time, every show, every seminar, every workshop, life's not about you. Be committed to something bigger than your life. It's almost like, you see it on billboards now, right? A sign for the Marines, committed to something bigger than their life, something like that, right? So they've even taken phrases that actually are about personal development, and they're using them to recruit Marine cadets. Okay, that's fine with me. I have a great deal of admiration for them. Dating for marriage is about really planning to do something with your life, and to do it with somebody else, to do it with a partner, with a worthy partner, somebody who is at your stature, who is at your level in life, who actually is qualified to move beyond the games of victimization. You did something wrong to me, and so now I'm damaged or hurt or victimized in some way, and so now I can't love you anymore, or I can't forgive you. Or in the workshops, people find out that they could forgive just about anything. Listen, I've heard some really bad stories about the amazingly bad things that people have done to each other, and it's difficult to stand high enough to be able to have a point of view about some of the things that you all do to each other that gives you the wherewithal, gives you a place to stand so that you can literally see that there's nothing to forgive. True forgiveness comes when you give up your right to make somebody else wrong, when you give up your right to dominate them or to avoid being dominated, when you actually take responsibility for your own pain and suffering, and you begin to explore, what is my responsibility in this, whether or not you believe you have any, whether or not you could understand how anything that happened might be somehow related to an ability that you had to respond. That's all I mean by responsibility. And we work very, very hard with people to get them to separate the word responsibility from the point of view of blame, victimization, guilt, because most people think responsibility is a burden, and we teach over and over again that responsibility is actually a privilege. Most people can get, I'm sure you could get, that, if, I was talking about cars earlier, if I sold you a car and it was a perfectly good car with nothing wrong with it, whose responsibility is it to get value out of that car? Well, that would be yours, right? Most people say mine. If I sold you this car and you drove it and crashed it into a ditch, whose responsibility is that? Most people would say mine. And so if we give you certain truths that we have found work over and over and over again, not only in our own relationships, but in the relationships of thousands of people, whose responsibility is it to get value out of that? You see, the people that attend our workshops leave there knowing that they are responsible to get value out of their own life. They've just made a huge investment. The workshops aren't cheap, but compared to the value that you get out of it, compared to what's happening in your life after you've done the workshop, they are cheap. They're inexpensive. They would be, you would pay any price to have that kind of value. I certainly would and have. I've spent years and years and years of my life doing research, finally being able to put together the things that made the most difference for me. And, I'm saying it as if I wrote all of the workshops. I certainly did not. My wife writes even more of it than I do. Together, we've created a series of experiences and processes that produce a predictable, almost certain outcome. When I say almost certain, It's because, hey, nothing is certain, is it? And to say that it was absolutely certain would be to say that virtually every person that ever comes through the door leaves with the same result, and that's not the case. Every person that comes through the door leaves with the results that they gained for themselves, and they alone are responsible for making those results make a difference in their life. Thank you for joining me on Love Talk. I will be back here again next week, and I'll see you again at Love Talk.
در کارگاه‌های آموزشی بانوان به رهبری دکتر آزیتا سایان خود واقعیتان و همچنین مردان را بشناسید و با استفاده از قدرت زنانه خود روابطی سالم و عاشقانه بسازید. ایروان ارمنستان 31 اکتبر تا 2 نوامبر، تورنتو 15 تا 17 نوامبر و همبورگ 28 فوریه تا اول مارچ. 310 460 2600 embracegrowth.com. قدم به قدم از آشنایی تا عشقی ماندگار توسط خانم دکتر آزیتا سایان. هر کجای رابطه که هستی، پیش از شروع، ابتدای راه، قبل از ازدواج و یا مزدوج و بچه دار، با شرکت در این سمینار خارق‌العاده عشقی ماندگار در زندگی خود خلق کنید.
اگه واقعاً بخواید که فکر بکنید که من مرحله به مرحله چجوری با یک کسی آشنا بشم و چجوری رابطه رو تشکیل بدم که تبدیل بشه به یه عشقی که ماندگار باشه توی زندگی من، حتما بهتون توصیه میکنم اوناییتون که واقعا براتون مهمه یاد بگیرید این مراحل آشنایی تا نگه داشتن یه رابطه. حالا همه میگن خب من نمیخوام ازدواج کنم، منم اصراری ندارم کسی نمیخواد ازدواج کنه، نکنیم، ولی لااقل یاد بگیریم یه رابطه سالم رو بتونیم نگهش داریم. خیلی هیجان دارم برای این سمینار، تشویقتون میکنم برای اونایتون که به خصوص تورنتو یا حومه تورنتو هستید، اگه براتون امکان پذیر هست، که 17 سپتامبر در خدمتتون هستم.
17 سپتامبر در تورنتو در آقاخان میوزیم 7:30 عصر. بلیط‌های خود را همین الان از وبسایت و یا اپلیکیشن Embrace Growth تهیه کنید. 310 460 2600 embracegrowth.com. یک مرد منحصر به فرد، مسلط، متمرکز، قابل اعتماد و رضایتمند باشید. کارگاه شرافت، عزت کلام و مهارت به رهبری دکتر آزیتا سایان. ایروان ارمنستان 15 تا 17 آگوست، تورنتو 20 تا 22 سپتامبر، همبورگ 18 تا 20 اکتبر و لس آنجلس 13 تا 15 مارچ. برای اطلاعات بیشتر با شماره 310 460 2600 تماس بگیرید. سمینار جذاب از بی‌یار بودن تا دلدادگی توسط خانم دکتر آزیتا سایان.
اگر ازدواج کردید و رابطه اونجوری که دلتون میخواد گرم و صمیمی و پر از عشق نیست، اگر در قسمتی از رابطتون هستین که فکر میکنید میخواید اقدام به جدایی بکنید، نکنید، بیاید این سمینار. بعداً چیزایی رو که تو این سمینار میشنوید برید و در رابطتون پیاده بکنید، بعداً تصمیم جدی بگیرید. در هر مقطعی که هستید واقعاً بهتون توصیه میکنم که این سمینار خاص رو از دست ندید. به جرئت میتونم بگم بهترین سمیناریه که خودم تا حالا روش کار کردم.
با این سمینار متفاوت مخصوص مجردین و متأهلین دوباره عاشق شوید. روتردام 4 اکتبر، لندن 5 اکتبر، استکهلم 6 اکتبر. 310 460 2600 embracegrowth.com. اپلیکیشن Embrace Growth. با ساختن اکانت شخصی شما می توانید وارد پروفایل خود شده و تنظیمات آن را تغییر دهید. به تمامی رویدادها و محصولات دسترسی داشته باشید. با چند کلیک برای سمینارها و کارگاه‌ها ثبت نام کنید و یا وقت مشاوره خود را رزرو نمایید. اپلیکیشن Embrace Growth را امروز از اپ استور دانلود کنید و به خانواده جهانی Embrace Growth بپیوندید.
Embrace Growth has a new home online where you can easily register for workshops and events, order from the online store, and be part of the worldwide community of Embrace Growth graduates. You'll be able to see Dr. Rosita Sayan and Mr. Gregory Morgan in your favorite seminars. Visit us today at embracegrowth.com.
سمینار جذاب از بی‌یار بودن تا دلدادگی توسط خانم دکتر آزیتا سایان.
برای خودتون روی ورقه بنویسید که هدف من اگر میخوام این سمینار رو برم، هدفی که میخوام بهش برسم و تاریخی که میخوام به اون هدف برسم کیه، و بعد همین الان این بلیط رو تهیه کنید. بخاطر که به سرعتی که اون بلیط رو تهیه میکنید به سرعت رسیدن به اون هدف نزدیک میشید. سر موقع بیاید توی صندلیتون برای این سمینار بشینید، توی سمینار نوت بردارید و مو به مو چیزایی که تو اون سمینار میشنوید رو برید و اجرا بکنید و ببینید زندگیتون چه میشه و اون هدف چقدر به سرعت اتفاق میفته.
با این سمینار متفاوت مخصوص مجردین و متأهلین دوباره عاشق شوید. روتردام 4 اکتبر، لندن 5 اکتبر، استکهلم 6 اکتبر. 310 460 2600 embracegrowth.com.